Assalamualaikum and hello. We are from group INKCORPORATED. Will be presenting on the MEMS video assignment today. For this project, we are making Implantable MEMS Acoustic Transducer for voice restoration. The first question is, why do we choose this? Okay, let's get to it. So, our project targets those people who lost their natural voices, be it from laryngeal damages, cancer surgery, or even neurological disorder. Even though they cannot produce audible speech, but when they try to speak, their neck tissue and vocal muscle still vibrate. Instead of using air microphones like a normal phone or headset, we propose to sense this internal tissue vibration directly using a MEMS microphone implanted under the neck skin. This makes our system fundamentally different from electrolarynx devices or external throat microphone. The core idea is simple. When a person tries to speak, the glottal and neck tissue vibrate. Our implantable MEMS device detects this vibration and convert them into electrical signal. That signal is then sent to an external wearable unit, which will amplify and convert it into audible speech through a speaker. So imagine the implant is a mic and then the external wearable unit is a speaker. Our proposed system has two parts. First, an implanted vibration sensing MEMS microphone, and second, an external system speaker. In this project, we focus specifically on the implantable MEMS sensor because it is the critical part that directly interfaces with the human body. So by using tissue-coupled sensing instead of air-coupled microphone, our proposal offers better noise immunity, more natural voice capture, and a discrete medical solution for voice-impaired patients. That is the motivation and concept behind our proposed system. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Isfahan Kamal. Today I will be explaining about the structural geometry of the proposed MEMS device arranged in a vertical multi-layer stack with a total diameter of 0.9 millimeters. Okay, so starting from the bottom, the substrate is a single crystal silicon with a thickness of about 100 micrometers. This layer provides a rigid mechanical foundation while keeping the overall device thin. Okay, and then on top of the substrate, a 2 micrometer silicon dioxide layer electrically isolates the active device from the silicon base. And then above, this is a sealed air cavity containing a central cylindrical backplate. The cavity thickness is approximately 100 micrometers, allowing large diaphragm motion, while the localized backplate improves mechanical stability. A ring-shaped silicon dioxide spacer, typically 2 to 5 micrometers thick, but ours is 2 micrometers, defines the diaphragm boundary and ensures electrical insulation. Initially, we chose silicon nitride, but simulations results show that the deflection is too small for a diaphragm. So about 10 to the power of -11 scale, so very small. It's a nanoscale. Then we replace with parallel C diaphragm with 4 micrometers thick, selected for its high compliance and ability to undergo large deflection, maximum about 29 micrometers. That's why the air gap is made 35 microns. That collision will not happen even in the worst case. So together, these layers form a compact, sealed, and mechanically well-defined structures suitable for implantable vibration sensing. Thank you.
So, thank you, Isfahan. My name is Hazim, and for my part, we're going to talk about how we actually fabricate this MEMS device. So, let's get into it. Okay, so to actually move on to the fabrication of the device, for illustration purposes, I will be using my iPad. So, first of all, we start with 100 micrometer substrate wafer, and then we through thermal oxidation we go insulator layer, which is silicon dioxide. After that, through wafer bonding, actually we add a structural silicon layer, which is also 100 micrometer. After that, through dry reactive ion etching, we can define the cavity so that we have this structure of a central cylindrical backplate with bounded laterally by silicon walls, as you can see here. And then in that cavity, we fill it with sacrificial layer. So this sacrificial layer is to allow us to actually deposit an insulator layer above here. Sorry for that. Yeah, insulator layer above here. And then through photolithography and etching, of course, we etch the silicon layer, the insulator layer above, same it's also silicon dioxide. And we add an additional sacrificial layer uh, right here in the middle, as you can see. This is so that we can finally uh, deposit our final layer of permanency, which is the diaphragm, right? So actually the final layer, the final MEMS device should look something like this. After we have removed the sacrificial layer, the final MEMS device should be looking something like this. It's not directly proportionate to what our actual MEMS device looks like. That is my limitations as an illustrator, of course, but you get the gist of it. Okay, so moving on to, I guess, simulation. Thank you.
First, we model the diaphragm as the clamped circular plate under vibration. Simulation show that under a 1 gram acceleration, displacement range from about 28 micrometer at 93.5 Hz down to 2 micrometer at 350 Hz. This confirms that diaphragm operate at stiffness control regime, meaning it responds predictably across the speech frequency range without resonant amplification. Importantly, the first resonant frequency is around 23 kHz, well above the speech range, ensuring flat frequency response and minimal distortion during normal use. Stress analysis show the maximum von Mises stress stay below 12 megapascal, far under Paralensis yield strength of 55 megapascal, ensuring safe and elastic operation. We also estimate total harmonic distortion to be less than 3%, meaning the signal remain clean and the signal to noise ratio exceed 100 dB, which indicate high sensitivity even for very low amplitude vocal vibration. In summary, the simulation confirms the design is mechanically robust, low distortion, high sensitivity, making it suitable for detect speech vibration in tissues.